Are you fed up of your stream buffering, skipping frames, dropping frames, or disconnecting altogether? In this video, I've got you covered. We're going to go over all the ways that we can stop that from happening. We're going to be using Streamlabs OBS, but some of these things can be applied to any streaming software. So stick around and let's go. Hey guys, welcome to Finesse Gaming. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you're all having a fantastic day. So like I said, we're going to go over the ways in which we can stop a stream from being of poor quality. So either it's skipping frames, dropping frames, disconnecting, or buffering when someone else is trying to watch it. I'm going to go over all the different things that we can do to stop that from happening. One of them is the most obvious one, which most people will talk about when they talk about these sort of things. So if you want to skip ahead, so the first thing we're going to talk about is the internet. And if you want to skip ahead, if you know you've got good internet and you've already set up all the different things in Streamlabs to get the right bit rate and everything else that you need to do, if you've done all that and you know that's all good and you're still dropping frames, which I was, then jump ahead into a further section. Just go into the comments below, because I will leave timestamps down there, and skip ahead from this first part of the internet. There's about 3 or 4 other things that you can actually do to help your stream be quite steady, so jump ahead and have a look at that. But if you want to check the internet and know all about that as well, first of all, let's go over that, because it is by far the most important thing. It isn't the only answer, but it is the biggest answer probably. So for everyone else, let's go and have a look at it now, and if you still want to stick around, just go through it all, make sure yours is all good. Let's go. And as always guys, if you do enjoy the video, please drop that like, hit that subscribe button and turn notifications on. Your support is hugely appreciated and it really does help the channel. And also you can find me streaming on Twitch and Facebook. Links will be in the description below if you want to check them out. It'd be great to see you there. Okay, so first things first, let's just talk about what we need from the internet. So in this case, we actually don't need a download speed. Obviously a good one is good, but we don't need that. We need an upload speed, because you are uploading onto the internet. It's what matters the most. So we need a fast-ish internet speed for upload. So we're going to go over kind of what we need, what's the minimum we want, and what kind of we're going to be looking at. But let's go over some different things at this moment in time. So let's go through first of all what we're actually talking about when we're doing this and why it's important. So what we actually need is an upload speed, like I said. And the reason we need to have a fast upload speed and know the upload speed is because of the bit rate in which you stream at. So this is on the software of Streamlabs, which we'll find in a second, and I will show you on my stream what I do. But just to go over this really quickly so you can all understand what it is. A bit is a single piece of information basically that's sent over the internet, and the bit rate is basically the speed at which it is sent. So the faster the bit rate, generally the better the quality, and the larger the file size as well. Next, after that, you will have frame rate. So that will be either 30 FPS or 60 FPS. Usually that's the two main ones. And after that, you will have the resolution at which you stream. So generally it's 720p or 1080p. I know 4K can come in, but I don't think Twitch really allows for that at this moment in time. It certainly doesn't. So let's say 1080p is the highest, which is full HD. 720p is HD. And let's just go with those two for a moment. When 4K comes in, that will be another one again. But at the moment in time, 1080p is really the best quality that you're going to be want to using for Twitch. And basically the key to all of that is finding the right balance between the file size that you send over the internet and the quality of it. So if it's too big a file size, then it will be buffering when the other person is trying to watch it. And when it's too small, the quality will be quite poor and it won't look very good. So finding the right balance between it all is incredibly important. And that is one of the key things to making your stream look good at the very beginning. So obviously first thing we need to do is find out what internet speed you have. So we're actually going to go ahead and run an internet speed test, and this is how we go ahead and do it. Okay, so we've gone on to Google and we've typed in internet speed test, and we can see here this is a Google one that comes up, run speed test, which is fine to do with. You can download different ones if you wanted to, but we'll just go ahead and run this one. So the first one it's going to be doing is the download speed, which again, this one doesn't really matter for what we want it for streaming. This is the one that is the key, the upload speed. So we can see there, I've got about 18.5 megabits per second. So that's how we do it, and we can see how fast it is. And it does give you a little breakdown here of what your devices may be able to handle with this speed. So now we actually know this 18.5 megabits per second upload speed. I can actually go ahead and work out what bitrate I need to be using to get the best quality stream. So let's go ahead and do that. So go ahead and do an internet speed test like I've just done to work out your upload speed, and the kind of the minimum that you're going to be looking for a decent stream using the higher settings is around 10 megabits per second. That's kind of a minimum. Anything above that is great. Some of the ones below it are okay, which we're going to go over in a second and ways in which to make them look good, but that's what we're going to kind of be basing it on. So let's just go over what that actually means. Basically 1 megabit is 1,000 bits. So we have 10 megabits per second, meaning that we have 10,000 bits per second that we can send over the internet. So in theory, that would allow us to set a 10,000 bit rate to send information to Twitch, but it doesn't actually quite work that way. And there's a number of reasons for that. The file size is going to be too big for somebody else's internet to actually handle and to view, so it's going to buffer. You need some of that bandwidth as well for playing the actual game itself, and also Twitch generally won't be able to handle that much bitrate either, so it's going to cause some problems in your stream if you're going to go ahead and actually set a bitrate at 10,000. It's way too high. So I don't think we can do that. We're just looking for the minimum. We want an actual gap between what we can actually do and what we actually need. Let's say you have an upload speed of 10 megabits per second or more, and I will explain the more in a second. You want to be setting your bitrate on Streamlabs OBS at somewhere between 3,500 to 5,000 bitrate. And like I said a second ago, even if you have a faster internet than that, this is what kind of Twitch and YouTube can handle, and this is the size of file that's stable from the viewer's point of view. If the viewer has poor internet and you send a huge file, they won't be able to view it. So don't go too big. We're up to about 5,000, and that really is about the maximum you're going to be sending over Twitch or YouTube. Okay, so this is what I have on my stream. So I've opened up my settings down the bottom there, and we're going to go and have a look at, not stream, we're going to have a look at output, and we're going to take a look through the settings that I've used. So we're going to go over which encoder and different things like that we need, but let's basically go for here. So we've got the bitrate set at 5,000. So my internet speed, if you remember, is 18.5 megabits per second. I've set this at 5,000. So the maximum I could have done, in theory, would have been 18,500, but that was never going to be a stable stream. So 5,000 is the most I've gone to, and from a point of view of the software and the internet, it's fantastic. I've got no problems in streaming, quite a steady stream with that setting. And like I said, a little bit later on in the video, we're going to go over some of these other settings that's away from the internet side of things into the actual settings of Streamlabs. That's going to be some other ways that we're going to make sure the stream is quite stable. Okay, so before we go on to those other things, let's just finish off on the internet side of things. Like I said, it's the most important. Let's say your internet upload speed when you did the test was 3 megabits or less per second. Now we may have a little bit of a problem. This could just be an internet issue. So if you can, contact your internet provider, see if you can get anything faster than that, because that is going to be quite slow, and you certainly, to get a steady stream, will have to go for almost the lowest settings in terms of resolution and frame rate. And the bitrate you want to be using for that is going to be quite low as well, which I'll explain in a second, but may not still be good because it's quite a low upload speed. So make sure you can try to get that a little bit quicker. Contact your internet provider or search the market, see if there's anything else that may be a little bit quicker. If you have between 4 megabits and 10 megabits per second, then you may have to consider possibly lowering some of those different settings, namely the resolution or the frame rate. So I stream at 1080p 30 FPS. Even I can't stream at 60 FPS and get a very stable stream, so I dropped 60 FPS down to 30, which in this kind of environment looks fine. There's no problem whatsoever in doing it. If you're in the real world moving everywhere very quickly, 60 FPS would be better, but we don't need that. But if you're in that category of 4 to 10 megabits upload speed, then maybe we need to drop one of those down. So you could either drop the 1080p down to 720p, or you may have to do the same as me and go to 1080 and try it at 30 FPS. But again, that may buffer a little bit if the file size is too big for your internet. It's something you're going to have to work out. Remember, you can lower the resolution, which may solve the problem. And one thing to remember before you don't want to do that, a steady stream that looks good is far better than a high quality, visually good stream that buffers all the time. So make sure you get better quality in terms of a steady stream that doesn't buffer, that doesn't lag or anything, rather than a good looking stream that lags and buffers. And in this case, if you have a lower internet speed, anything less than 10,000, we're going to be looking at a bit rate somewhere between 2,500 to 4,000. Really, if you're going to be doing 2,500, that's when you're at your 3, 4, 5 megabits per second. Anything above that, you should be trying to up it up towards 4,000. You could possibly edge it closer to 5,000, but that might be slightly too big and you may actually disconnect or buffer. So in that region, you just want to make sure that you're setting your bit rate to the maximum that you can get from your internet. And to explain why that matters so much, like I said a second ago earlier in the video, if you have a 10 megabit per second upload speed, technically you could use 10,000 bitrate, but we don't want to because we need it for other things as well. But if you only have a 3 megabit per second upload speed and use 3,000 bitrate, then we're going to use all of our upload speed basically on that. So we'll have nothing left for playing the game or anything else we need it for. So we're going to be probably buffering quite a lot. So you're gonna have to lower the bit rate, which is going to lower the quality. And then last thing, I promise, before we go on to this other stuff, because it's gonna seem like it's dragging on for a while, but the internet is important. The very, very last thing is, if you are using a wireless connection, don't. Use a wired connection if you can. So a wired connection, is much more stable than a wireless connection. What you don't want is, let's say you're raided by a huge channel giving you, I don't know, 4,000 viewers or something, but you're using a wireless connection and all of a sudden your internet goes, no, and you disconnect, then you've got a bit of a problem. So make sure you're using a wired connection if you can. I actually can't use a full wired connection when I'm streaming or recording videos or anything now over the internet because I'm not able to do it. So I actually use a power line adapter, which if you don't know is basically two plugs. They basically plug into the wall socket to create somewhat of a wired connection. So you plug a Ethernet cable into the back of your router, and then you plug one of the power line adapters into the wall next to it, and then you plug the other power line adapter into the wall by your PC. Again, you run a cable into the PC, an Ethernet cable, and you will have a wired connection. Now, this isn't as good as a standard wired connection running from the router to the PC, but it's much better than a wireless connection. I will say I don't have any problems in disconnection or anything like that. I just don't quite have the same speeds I would have. You saw the download speed a second ago. I actually can get, if I'm fully wire the connection up, I can get up to 50 or 60 megabits per second download speed, but I don't need that. That's not really what I'm looking for. It's the upload speed that matters, and it's quick enough as it is. So make sure you can somehow get a wired connection. If it's a power line adapter, fine, that's a compensation for it, or get it full wired connection. Don't stream on wireless if you can help it. That's all. Okay, internet's finally done. We've got nothing else to talk about on that. Basically, get a fast internet. So now that's done, we're going to go over the other ways in which you can get a faster stream and a more stable stream without doing anything else to your internet. So if you just joined this video here because you've already done the internet stuff, let's just go over quickly everything in the streaming software, the setup of it, and then all the stuff in the background that can actually make a big difference, which is what I found, because I had good internet. I set all the software up correctly, but I was still having problems. So let's go over those things now. Okay, firstly, on your Streamlabs, open up the settings. I'm going to go all the way over to output to begin with. This is what we were on a second ago when we were talking about the bitrate with the internet, but we're going to talk about some of the other stuff on here now. So make sure if you're using an NVIDIA graphics card, you set this here to NVENC new, okay, because that will help. It will take all of the weight off the CPU. This is the GPU actually encoding it, so it's not the CPU. It's going to reduce the amount of stress on the CPU, and it hardly uses any GPU stuff. It's incredibly good. I've used it since I basically started streaming. Now, it does depend on what graphics card you've obviously got. Even if you've got an NVIDIA one, it needs to be one of the newer-ish ones and needs to be a decent one. But if you can use that, use it. If not, I can't click off it because I'm currently recording this video with Streamlabs. But if you can't use that, go to just the standard one, which is, I forget the first part, but 264. That's all I can tell you. Just use that, but be aware that it's going to put more stress and strain onto the CPU than this will. Next, we're going to come down and have a little look at profile. So mine's set on high. This is the, I believe, the second highest you can go to. Again, I can't click on it because I'm recording, but make sure you haven't got this set at too high. If it's too high a setting, then you're going to struggle a little bit with dropping frames. Make sure you're setting it at high, and you can see the rest of the settings there that I haven't really changed from the beginning. Now, recording, I'll explain why I say this, because I actually record and stream pretty much at the same time all of the time. So I'm on one PC and play a game. I'll explain all the things I do, but this is what I do. So I make sure I'm recording. You can see where everything is going. Again, recording, I'm using NVENC new. I'm not using the CPU, I'm using the GPU, so it's using all of that. Now, this is where some people get a bit confused. The bitrate here is actually quite high, as you can see, and that's because the file size isn't going to the internet, it's just going onto my computer. I don't need fast upload internet speed for this, so I can up it a little bit. 25,000 is what I've put it at. I've seen people with this at 30, 35,000 sometimes. I'm quite happy with it being a 25, but this is what you can play around with. Certainly, if you've got a decent PC and you're going to use the GPU to do it, up this a little bit, closer to 20,000, even 25,000, and just make sure it looks good when you record videos. Make sure there's no lagging, buffering, skipping frames, etc. when you do that. And you can see again down here, when you're recording, just make sure you've got the preset. I've put mine on quality and the profile again on high. Again, both of these are quite high settings. They're not the highest, they're just the one below it. Again, I just want to get the best quality I can get with a steady recording without any sort of lagging or anything. So these are the settings that I use altogether. Audio, by the way, we don't touch. There's a bit rate for audio as well, which nobody really talks about. Just keep it at 160. So that's it for all of that stuff. And next we're actually going to go on to one of the advanced settings that, again, it's got something to do with the internet. So we're going to go to advanced. I haven't really touched anything on there. We're going to come down to network. Just make sure that this top one here is ticked, that dynamically change bitrate when dropped frames while streaming. So in other words, if you do start to drop frames, Streamlabs will change the bitrate as it needs to. Which is going to be quite helpful. So we can change to these different things down here. You can enable network encode or low latency mode. Just make sure you can keep it at this one and leave the bind to IP at default. So that does help. You will notice it actually changed, so you can actually see in Streamlabs OBS when you are streaming what the bitrate is, and you can see it changing as it needs to. Mine generally stays between 4,800 and 5,000, so it's pretty decent, but you'll be able to do that. If we took this off and we started to drop bitrate, then the actual frames will drop as well, or you'll be dropping frames as you stream. But if you change this, it will change the bitrate so that you will stop that happening. So make sure you do tick that, it's quite important. Okay, next we're going to look at some of the settings in Windows, which is what I actually had to do. I had all of that stuff that you just watched set up and I was still dropping frames. This is what I actually had to do to stop it all happening. So this is what's going on in the background of the PC. Make sure you do this because this will help. If you're still dropping frames, still skipping frames, or still buffering or anything, this is what you need to be doing. So check this out. Okay, so the first thing is you want to head over to your settings on Windows. So you can press the Windows key and I together, and that will bring up this, or just go to System Settings. And we're going to come down here to the Gaming tab. So this, I think, is on actually most Windows PCs now if it's running Windows 10. I'm not sure if it's on every single one, so if you don't have it, that's fine. I know most of them do now. Certainly it's an Xbox thing, but if it's on there, make sure you do click on it because this is set to be an on at standard. So if I was to set this to on, which it comes at standard, like I said, it basically would allow me to press the Windows key and the G button, and that opens up like an overlay. It's called the game bar, and it allows you to do lots of things like take screenshots, make little video clips, change audio settings, all sorts of different things. But it's stuff that you won't really need. You're going to be doing all of that stuff in the software that you're using for streaming or in game. You don't need it to be in the background. If you do use it, okay, but it's going to be taking up quite a lot of CPU usage. This one, when I actually deleted it, helped the stream massively. So make sure you do switch it to off. So you can also go down into game mode and switch this to off. So when the game mode is on, Windows optimizes your PC for play. I've left that on because it hasn't actually made any difference. But if you're still struggling once you've switched this off, make sure you go down there and switch that off as well. So that's going to be your first thing you need to be doing. So switching off this Xbox game bar is going to be the first thing you need to do to get a steady stream in the Windows software, because you don't want it running in the background. Like I said, it's too big a file, it's taking up too much memory and too much CPU. So the next thing you want to do then is open up the task manager. So you can press Control Alt and Delete to get through to it. You can also get to it from the settings, but once you're into the task manager, and you should be able to see from there all the different tasks that are running. I will recommend you actually do this in a test stream. So maybe put a stream out, just to call it a test stream or something, so no one really clicks on it, and then do this task manager, because what you want to know is what's running in the background while you're streaming. You won't believe the amount of things that are there that are not needed, that are using memory and CPU, and will actually cause your stream to look worse and to buffer. So basically you're going to be removing a load of things that aren't necessary to be running in the background, such as Steam software that you may not need to have in the background. You may not need certain equipment software such as the Razer Synapse if you haven't. Sometimes that even runs when I haven't even got something Razer plugged into the PC. Corsair if you don't need that, if you don't need IQ, different things that you don't need to be running that can use up quite a lot of memory. Take them off, okay? Remove them from running in the background. So you basically want to be reducing the amount of memory and the amount of CPU usage you possibly can, so just use the bare minimum. and then hopefully your stream will be more stable. I had to remove something like 6 or 8 different things, tasks that were running that just weren't needed in the background, and it helped a huge amount in actually getting the stream very, very stable. So that is the key thing. The Xbox game bar, get rid of it if you don't want it on the background, and get rid of all the tasks running that aren't necessary as well in the background. So these are all the things that I've done. These are all the settings I used in Streamlabs. These are what I've done with Windows and on the task manager, and I haven't had any drop frames. I was getting drop frames almost every time I streamed. I haven't had any now at all for about 4 months having done these things. So try them out for yourselves, guys. My internet, as you saw, isn't incredibly quick, so your internet could be even quicker than mine and you're still having the problems. That's where this other stuff comes in from the PC point of view. If your internet isn't fast, then maybe we need to look at the bitrate that you're sending, the resolution that you're playing at, or even the getting a better internet connection or a better speed somehow. Okay, so if all of this has failed, if you've done all of these things and you're still dropping frames, skipping frames, or buffering, then we're going to be looking at hardware as opposed to software sort of stuff. So this is where obviously the internet is the key thing. We're maybe going to be looking at internet providers, a new router, or something that can get faster internet. Certainly a wired connection would be the key one if you don't have that already, but the internet's going to be the key one to change. But beyond that, this is what matters in the PC for speed and quality of stream. So firstly, an upgrade. If you upgrade your RAM, okay, so your memory in your PC, that will help, not necessarily fix the problem, but it will help the problem. So more memory basically means you will have more things that are capable of working at the same time, or pretty much at the same time. So you can do multiple actions. If you go less memory, then you're going to be struggling to do multiple different things. So I now have upgraded mine to 32 gigabytes from 16 gigabytes. And 16 is still fine, it was still plenty, but 32 I've just been allowed to kind of do quite a lot more with it. 32 gigabytes I now have at 3200 speed, and it's pretty good. So I can actually now play a game, I can stream that game, I can record it, I can play Spotify or music in the background, and I can have internet websites open like Twitter or Facebook, whatever, in the background. So I can do quite a few things that are quite high CPU and GPU demanding, and I can do them without any problem at all. My stream is still steady, I don't drop any frames, the quality is still good, I'm still using 1080p, all on one PC. So you can do all this if you have the right settings in software and the hardware then to match up. So this isn't the highest spec, by the way, PC, it's a decent one, but it's not incredibly high. The next thing I will come on to, and this is the final thing to upgrade if all else fails, maybe if your CPU is old, and this is going to be unfortunately one of the more expensive things to upgrade. So if you've got a CPU from maybe let's say 8 to 10 years ago, or you've got like an i3 or something from recently, it's just not going to be able to cope unfortunately with all the different information that we're trying to get it to do, all the tasks that we're trying to get it to do at once. It could be the problem. Certainly maybe consider looking at a slightly better CPU that has more cores, that can do more things, and that's going to allow more actions to take place at once without any problems. So remember that you can still do them, they will just take longer, it buffers more, the speed is much better with some of the newer GPUs, probably from an i5 upwards or a Ryzen 5 upwards. The Ryzen 3 and the i3 probably aren't quite good enough for everything that we want to do if we're doing it all from one PC with decent settings, that is. Okay guys, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed this one a little bit longer than normal. If you did enjoy it or have any other ideas or comments, please put them in the comment section below. Let me know if you've tried any of these things and if they worked or if they didn't, and if you've got any other ideas that maybe people can do to actually improve their stream that I haven't actually covered. Pop those in the comment section below as well, and we'll see if that can make any difference also. And like I said, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider dropping that like, hit that subscribe button, and turn the notification bell on. Your support's hugely appreciated, and it really does help the channel. Also, you'll find me streaming on Twitch and Facebook. Links will be in the description below. If you want to come and check them out, it'd be great to see you there, and we can have a chat about all this stuff in stream. And also, I'll leave links in the description below for a few things. I'll leave a link for Streamlabs OBS if you want to consider downloading it, if you're maybe not using it yet and want to start streaming or something. Also, I'll leave a link for all the little equipment things that I use, like the power line adapters, Ethernet cables and things, so you can just check them out. If you do want to pick one up, you click on the link and go ahead and do it. But until next time guys, keep gaming, keep safe, good night, GG.